Apple's sort of vague about it, but they don't want you competing with their products that are on the, their apps that are on the phone. Whereas with Android, you can do whatever you want. You want a browser, an email client, you can go ahead and do it. So if you're going to invest a lot of time and money in something, you sort of have to, with Apple, you have to hope that they'll approve the application. Whereas with the G1 and Android, it'll go out to the marketplace.
The fact that Google has jumped in here, is that sort of heading off at the path somebody like Microsoft that might want to jump in with their own iPhone?
Well, I mean, Microsoft has a big place in the market with Windows Mobile. So I'm sure what they're looking at is advancing that into the next stage, something that's probably more touch, more flashy. I'm not sure that I don't think this precludes the possibility of something like a Zune phone or some sort of Microsoft sort of more consumer-oriented phone, but it certainly is. Google entering this market is going to be added, big added competition for those guys.
They are an 800-pound gorilla now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not fooling around. I mean, Google is a very serious contender. I mean, they own so much of what goes on online, that for them to step into the phone OS or device OS area is a pretty big deal.
Now, there are a lot of early adapters. You probably may be one of them. I got to have that first one that's out there.
It's possible. That is possible.
Well, look what happened to a lot of people who bought the first iPhone, and they paid a lot of money for it, and then just a few months later, the second version came out, a couple of $100 less or more.
Yeah, well, it was about a year later, but they did reduce the price.
They felt they got burned by being an early adapter. Might the same thing be happening here? Should you wait?
The price of entry is way lower for this. If you're signing a new contract or a T-Mobile customer renewing your contract, it's $179, which is not a huge investment for a lot of phone buyers right now. So it's not that $600. What was it? $599 for the iPhone when it came out, which is astronomical now. Looking at what they're charging at this $199 that they're charging now.
Mm-hmm. And the service plan, is it basically the same?
It's actually, in terms of what you get, I think it's a little bit more economical. They offer a $25 plan, which is unlimited data and 400 text messages, and then they have a $35 plan, which is unlimited everything, basically. Apple and AT&T, it's a little bit more expensive.
What about the bandwidth, the wide channel? Fast downloads. Do they have one also?
No, it's a 3G. It's a 3G device, but T-Mobile's 3G network, which is different than AT&T's, is not nearly as widespread as AT&T's is. They don't have as many areas of coverage. So, there's a trade-off there. Then again, AT&T's can be very spotty. So
they also talked about that there was a cap on this early on this service.
The day of the announcement, there was this kind of small text saying we're going to cap you at 1 gig a month, and if you go beyond 1 gig of data a month, we're going to slow your downloads. But they actually, really responded to we saw a big outcry on our site. Of users very upset about it. And I think they really responded to it, and they've actually taken that off of the documentation now.
So if you're starting out with your first smartphone and you're choosing between an iPhone and this new phone, who's this for, who's it not for?
Well, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah, if you just, I don't know how to use any electronic device. You're like the person that can't fix the 12 on the clock.
Yeah, you should probably get an iPhone in that case because it's a much more controlled environment. It's a slicker environment, and it's more geared towards you're not going to run off the beaten path. You're staying on what Apple has sort of set up for you.
And when you plug it in, it goes right to iTunes.
Yeah, it's all integrated.
Interface.
Exactly.
Is this phone also integrated into something?
No, this is it's integrated into Gmail and into Google services. So you get tight integration with if you're a Gmail user, and a lot of people are now. But in terms of you're an Apple user and you've got all your contacts in the Apple address book and your email accounts, calendar. It's not going to sync with those, and so for a lot of users, that's going to be same with Windows. It's not going to sync with your Outlook, so that's kind of a roadblock, I think, for a lot of users, especially entry-level users who just want something easy.
So you'd have to migrate all of those to the equivalent Google apps online.
Essentially, you'd have to put your contacts and your calendar data into Gmail or Google,
and you press a button and it syncs just like it would.
It actually syncs over the air, so it syncs continuously. If you change your contacts in your Gmail, it will push that to the phone and vice versa.
I'm doing that on my iPhone with my Gmail.
Right. No, it's very similar.
Same thing.
Very similar.
Well, thank Josh. Thank you for taking time to be with us. Josh Topolsky is editor-in-chief of Engadget, Engadget.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a short break.